It's wonderful to be back in Cannon Falls, and thanks again to Heidi for bringing the program back to the library. We had such a good time last year, and so I'm glad that it made sense for her for us to do it again. So it's great to be back. And I think one of the reasons that these events have been so wildly popular is that people know that this is not a shopping trip for me. I never offer to buy or sell on a commission at any of these events, and people like that. They know that I'm not looking to pick up a bargain and turn around and sell it and make money on it. There's nothing wrong with that. That's what an antique dealer does. I'm not an antique dealer. I am an appraiser. These appraisal events and the house calls that I do are all that I do. Speaking of house calls, people with big things or fragile things or a lot of things, the house call option is a very popular one. Through the end of this year, if you would like me to come to the house, it's just $75 an hour. We can do an unlimited number of appraisals in that time. So if that's something that you want to look into, feel free to we can talk during the break, or we can follow up after the program. We were talking earlier about Antiques Roadshow. I was back on the tour this summer. I was in Chicago in July and Charleston, West Virginia in August. Charleston was the last of 8 stops that they do now. They start in the end of May, first part of June, and they just go right through August. 8 stops every summer all across the country, and I love doing Antiques Roadshow, but as many of you know, we don't get paid to be on the program, and we have to pay all our own travel expenses. So what do we get? We get the credibility of being part of a wonderful program, the best, well, it used to be the most popular program on public television until Downton Abbey came along. I don't begrudge them their success. Downton Abbey is a fine program. Roadshow is still the most popular reality program on public television. That's how they're listed when the Emmy Awards come out. This is their 19th season. Next year will be their 20th anniversary. They have been nominated for 12 Emmy Awards. They have never won. They are the Susan Lucci of reality programming. One of these years, I know they'll win. But we'll talk more about Roadshow during the program. So no matter how many of these events I do, I never know how much I know until I'm presented with a question or a puzzle or a challenge. So let's see how much I know. Betty Lou Johnson. Good morning.
Good morning.
Have a seat.
Okay.
Have a seat. Now the guys are here with shooting the video. There's a little microphone. There's a tiny little microphone there on the table. So you'll be immortalized if you are not immortalized already. What do we know about this picture?
I bought it at an auction for 50 cents. It had been in a granary. It was all covered with dust, but I just went like this and saw a little bit of it, so for 50 cents.
For 50 cents, you can't go wrong.
And it's a chalk.
It is.
Yeah.
It's a still life chalk drawing with grapes and oranges and grape leaves. It dates from about 1910. It's about 100 years old. The condition is fair. It's starting to, there's a little bit of roughness in some of the chalk, and part of that has to do with the fact that when it was framed, the glass and the paper were in contact. Mm-hmm. And so you sometimes get a little bit of lifting. The chalk adheres to the glass. Now, there was a time 30 years ago when you couldn't give these away. And then collectors began to kind of reassess the market for it. It has a wonderful fumed oak frame. It's the original frame. As collectors began kind of reassessing, the collector popularity grew. They're almost always horizontal. Mm-hmm. They are usually an exterior scene like a landscape, but there are plenty of still lifes like this one as well. It's in, like we said, it's in pretty good shape. The question is, do we want to take it apart and risk doing any damage?
I tried taking it apart, and the chalk is so...
It's very fragile.
Yeah. If you blew it would just...
Right, exactly. However, I think it's worthwhile to at least take the back off here. This old board that's on the back, that should be thrown away. That should be removed and thrown away. It's cedar. It has chemicals that are migrating into the paper that are toning and discoloring it. Go to a good frame shop then, get a piece of what's called foam core, which is a thin sheet of styrofoam with paper on either side. They may even cut it to fit for you, and that will replace the board on the back. So 50 cents at an auction. Did you? It was an auction. I'm amazed that you were able to, that the auctioneer took a bid of 50 cents.
Well, it was pouring down rain.
Oh.
He had to get rid of stuff.
You know, I think on a good day, it's probably worth about 50 bucks.
Okay.
So I think that was a good investment.
Okay.
Okay.
Thank you.
You're welcome. Thanks for coming. All right, Leon, Rose.
Hi.
Good morning.
About a quarter of a century ago, my aunt sent me some documents that she found in her lockbox.
Uh-huh.
And I just put them in my lockbox, and they've been sitting there. And
Okay.
so I took a look at them when I heard about the roadshow, and I thought I'd show them to you and see what you
Sure.
think of them. And probably also how I could preserve them. Let's see. This here, as I read it, is a deed to some land.
Mm-hmm.
And it's signed by,
It's signed, it looks like it says,
for Abraham Lincoln.
yes, yeah, Abraham Lincoln, William Stoddard, and this is a land grant. These were given out to veterans of the Black Hawk Wars, who were in the War of 1812. So this gentleman, John Redden, sergeant and captain of Gilmore's company, the Ohio Militia, 1812. It's the same, et cetera, et cetera. So it's got a seal. It's signed here by Lincoln, by his secretary, and these are actually pretty common.
I would think so.
They were, as you can imagine, they in exchange for their military service, they were given out. They were giving a lot of land away. You know, this one goes back to 1855, and it describes land near St. Peter, Minnesota. 80 acres. How cool is that? I wonder what it's worth today.
That would have been back in the territories, I suppose.
Yep.
The,
Yep, absolutely. Yeah, no, the Minnesota and Wisconsin were just territories then. But it does mention St. Peter. How cool is that? So in good condition now. Now, what's this one?
well, this was, again, another land grant, I believe, for service.
Okay.
I think it might be Civil War service.
Patent the state of Minnesota to someone named William Rose, and it also refers to land in Minnesota to William Rose and his heirs. And the date of this is 1869, so just a few years after the end of the Civil War. So they're in pretty good shape. You know, often they get framed together, and these pieces, as we were saying, they are out there in a lot of in the thousands. Now, having said that, they still have collectible value. I'll show you here. This is a database that I use for looking up all kinds of values. Generally, these are bringing about 60 bucks. Okay, this one sold for 70. There's the one. This one happens to be signed for James Buchanan's secretary.
Okay.
So I was going to say $60. This one just sold for $70. And was there anything else in the collection? It looks like it's the exact same sheet, just for a different state.
Yeah.
So for the pair, $70. When did this sell? In March. So I would say 60 or $70.
Okay.
Okay.
Great.
Thank you.
Thank you
All right,
very
that was
much.
fun. Wonderful, thanks. And Gwen.
I have a couple items.
Okay.
This belonged to my dad's mom.
Okay.
But nobody really seems to know what it was used for.
Sure. Sure. Well, you've got this bowl with an underplate, and it's made by, it's marked Noritake, and it has the M in the middle, and that's for the Morimura brothers. The Morimura brothers were the most successful of all the Japanese ceramic companies working in the first few decades of the 20th century, before World War II, before World War I. So what we have here is a master salt and individual salts that would have sat next to someone's, they would have sat around a table, and you would have dipped this in here and then filled all these little, so these are little individual salts. So they are Noritake with a master salt. How cool is that? So let's see here. These are all individual salts. These are all also Nippon, and here it is. It says it's got the Morimura Brothers mark right on this one here. Pretty close. This is the green mark, the green Morimura Brothers mark. So that whole set, they estimated it would be worth almost $200. In May, it sold for $11. That's sad. That's too bad. And see, these are actually kind of, they say pre-1921. So, interesting. So I'm going to say, I think it's a lovely set. It's in great condition. The thing is, today, with these beautiful ceramic pieces, if you can't put them in the microwave and you can't put them in the dishwasher, nobody wants them the way they used to. So they're beautiful. Use them, use them in a few weeks at Thanksgiving. For the whole set, probably about $20.
Okay.
Okay.
And then these were my great grandmother's
Okay.
salt and pepper shakers.
Yep.
And just
Yep.
wondered about them.
Pink,
I know, it's pretty pink.
they call this cased glass. So it's white on the inside, pink on the outside. They would have had little, silver tops. And this roughness is very common. So it's not damaged. They often left them rough.
That's the way they were. Oh,
That's
okay.
just the
I
way
thought
they.
were
That's just the
broken.
way. Nope. That's just
Okay.
the way they were made. This one, there might be a little damage there, although you can feel it's very, very smooth. So I don't think that's damage. You probably knew that I wrote a book about salt and pepper shakers.
No, I didn't.
You didn't?
No,
Oh.
I'm sorry.
Okay. See, and that's at that point you're supposed to say, "Oh yes, Mark, I've read it many times."
It was my favorite.
Yes, it's your favorite book, and here it is, and I'll autograph it. No, and they're probably worth about $5 a piece.
Okay.
Okay.
Well, thank you very much.
You're welcome. That was fun. Nancy, is it Lapaco?
Okay, here you go.
Okay. It's a picture in a little frame. What do we know? What do we know about it?
It's done by a French artist
Okay.
that I bought like 40. I bought it 40 years ago at an estate sale, and I believe he was born in 1820 something.
It's an allegorical scene, and it looks like it's a scene from hell.
It does.
Yes,
it's
it
quite
does.
disturbing.
It's what. So tell me, what was your mood when you bought this? I mean, when you bought a picture from hell.
I know. I don't
Yeah,
know. I just
okay.
thought it looked kind of interesting and old. It's old.
It is old. It's actually a wonderfully detailed etching, so that it was printed off of a copper plate. And you can tell that because when this was printed, it was there was a copper plate that was inked that had this design etched into it, and the paper is slightly wet. So when it's laid on top of the plate, it leaves this little gutter around the edge. So we know that it's an etching. It's signed Veyrasat. It's like Veyrasat, I believe. Yes. I don't. That's not a name that I'm familiar with. But let's look here. Ask Art is a wonderful website, one of several that I use. Some of the websites that I use, and you can look here and they can look up there.
Oh, okay.
Some of them are subscription sites. An annual subscription to Ask Art is about $2,000.
Oh, I won't be getting that.
You won't be going there? Okay. I'll show you some other websites that don't cost that kind of money. So it's VEY
RASSAT.
Okay. Jules Jacques Veyrasat, 1828 to 1893.
See, I didn't make it up.
No, you didn't, right. And he has a lot of auction values. Now let's just go here. We're going to log in. All right, well, there's 139 of works, including a couple coming up. Here's one being offered for sale next week. There's another one. These are all coming up. There's an original painting by him that sold just last month for $18,000.
I don't have a painting.
You don't. But let's see if we can find an etching. These are all original works. He was very prolific.
Yes, I can see that.
Yeah. Just original. Well, there's 139 of them. Let's try something else here. Let's try another database. Well, at least we know that he has some strong results. Good heavens, there's 38 of them. Now, are any of them etchings from hell?
I may have the only one.
Maybe you have the only one. There's
really valuable
There's
now.
an etching. Wait a minute. Let me open. There we go. At a minimum, I think it's probably worth having it reframed. This has this little French mat on here, and you can see the border where it originally was framed. It's a little bit toned there. $40. Here's another one. He seemed to like wolves for some reason. There's another one.
See, it really went down in value, didn't it?
Here's a set. Here's a group of them. $230. Here's a group for $110. Do you remember what did you pay for it? Do you remember?
No,
Oh.
probably not much.
Okay. Based on this, it's probably worth 30 or $40.
Poor guy.
Yeah, I mean, if it was an original painting, we'd be talking a lot more. In this case, because it's an etching, and we see what the values of his etchings are. Again, here's an assortment of them. So his etchings are bringing about $40.
All right.
Okay.
Okay, thank you very much.
You're welcome. Thanks for coming.
Oh, of course.
All right. Thank you, Nancy. Kathy Curran.
Okay, well, so anyway, it's just a bowl that was my husband's grandmother's.
Uh-huh.
And so, I mean, there's no markings on it, but he also had one from her that we know was made in Prussia, and it had like the mark
Yep.
on the back and stuff.
RS Prussia, probably.
Yeah,
Yes, okay.
It was an RS Prussia, it was in beautiful condition and all that. So then she also had this, so I don't know, she could have gotten it at Walmart, I don't know. But anyway, so I just thought I'd bring it and see.
Do they have Walmarts in Prussia? I don't know.
Probably not.
It's
whatever their version of it.
it's a lovely bowl. I love this little detail on the outside.
Yeah.
Most of these that I see are a transfer design. So the design is laid on like a decal.
Okay.
This is not. This is all hand painted.
Oh, okay.
With enamel, and you can feel, it has. You can feel the
Yep.
what they call the impasto, which is the weight of, in this case, the enamel or the paint on there. And it has these little reserves, as they call them, encircling the center area. It's very, very pretty. The date is about, it was made about 100 years ago. I think it was made just before World War I. It had no function except to look pretty. And it does. I mean, they end up going in a cabinet, or in a cupboard on a little stand.
Right.
You could put fruit in it,
Yeah.
but mostly it was just, here's the pretty bowl, that was made about, at the dawn of the 20th century. So, sometimes on Antiques Roadshow we talk in code, and one of the code phrases we use is, "Well, it has decorative value."
Oh, I see, okay.
Yeah. And that just
more.
that's right. And I mean, if you saw this in an antique shop, it would probably be priced $30 or $40. But that's why it would still be in the antique shop.
Right.
Is that it's just again, they are pretty, but it's just mostly about looks. It's about a $20 bowl.
Okay.
Okay.
All right. Great. Well, thank you.
Oh, you're welcome. Thanks for
So I
coming.
don't have to worry about willing it to anybody, I guess.
And no, that you don't, unless what happens at the appraisal event stays at the appraisal event. So you can tell them what it's worth at whatever you want.
Okay.
Okay.
Thank you very much.
All right. Thank you, Kathy. Stacy Coyle. I was very impressed when I saw you bring this in. It is a linoleum floor covering with a Western motif. Can we set it up just so we can? I mean, we don't need to unroll it, I don't think. Whoops. Okay. Good. Every program I do, I see something I've never seen before, and so far this is it for this program. How on earth did you get this?
Well, we moved to Cannon Falls about 15 years ago.
Okay.
And bought a house from the third generation Kraft family,
Okay.
just 2 blocks down the road. And
Okay.
it was left up in the attic.
Okay. I hear that so often about people buying a house and them leaving things. Usually it's a lamp or a table or something like that. Never a piece of linoleum.
Yeah.
But I'll tell you what, I love it. It's really kind of funky and colorful, and you've got spinning wheels, and you've got trains, and you've got, here's a well, there's a hay rake, there's lanterns. So, do you use it? I mean, is it like, do you use it as a floor covering?
We hadn't been, we had just left it up in the attic.
Okay.
We're kind of getting ready to remodel.
Okay.
And I had read a book by Jane Powell about linoleum.
Right.
So it got me curious.
It's not for everybody, but I think just the fact that it survived, I mean, it was probably made in the 1920s, 1930s. Does that make sense in terms of, I don't know what all is out there. I think if we look up linoleum, we're just going to get linoleum cuts.
Yeah.
Like have you done any research on it at all?
I haven't, other than reading Jane Powell's book. And I know that she had talked about some of the more unusual rugs, carpets, more valuable.
In a rug is probably kind of a misnomer, but what else are you going to call it? I mean, in this case, it's a floor covering.
I know there's a dealer in New York City that has a lot of linoleum.
Yeah.
I think I can't remember the name right off the top of my head, but they didn't really have a lot of pricing, so I didn't have any way of.
Well, and I think most of the value that you're going to see for something like this, because of the era, it has to have an Art Deco quality to it. Then I think, because of modern design, I think you would have, more hundreds and hundreds, maybe even thousands of dollars worth of value. In this case, because it has kind of a country motif, I mean, there's a log cabin and there's sea scrolls and the pioneers, I guess, pioneering would be there's a steamship down there on the bottom. What is the condition like? I see there's just a little bit of damage along the edges. Overall, is it in pretty good shape?
It is. On the other end of it, there's a fairly good sized rip.
Okay,
And it looked like maybe they had tried to repair it,
okay. You know,
but because it's just kind of on the edge.
it has to work in the room where you're using it. I mean, it will last. It'll literally last forever.
Yeah.
I would say today, if you saw it in an antique shop, probably $200, maybe a little bit more. But it really, you have to get someone who can use their imagination about how to work it into a design motif. So
Okay.
it's very cool, and I've never seen anything like it.
Okay.
Okay.
Sounds good.
Thanks for bringing it.
Yeah, thank
Okay.
you.
Thanks, Stacy. Judy Anderson. Hello.
Hi.
There we go. Here, let's put it up here. Yeah, let's see. If you don't mind, can you hold this right here? And I'm going to walk around to the front while you tell me how you got this.
I got it from my great aunt,
Okay?
the late 60s. It was rolled up. I don't know where she had it other than her basement.
Sure.
I had it framed and didn't know anything about anything until the person who framed it said, don't cover up all that shtick on the bottom.
That's usually good advice. Don't cover up the pencil signatures. So in the 1920s and 30s, which is when these were being produced in large numbers, they all came from Europe, and they were usually part of like an etching society. Then sometimes across the top, like up in a corner, you will see it says Society.
It does, yeah.
It does say that. Okay, there we go. Paris Etching Society. There you go. So just so you know, I'm not making this stuff up.
No.
Okay. They all had a kind of a similar theme. Usually, country villages, landscapes, or narrow, little streets. They're all usually French countryside, Belgian countryside. The Netherlands. They are often signed in pencil, which this one is. And most of these artists, now that one says Lecourt, perhaps. Most of the artists are anonymous and will remain so. This one is in really good shape. A lot of them that I see have foxing, which is a mold that grows on paper, water stains, things like that. It's a little bit toned. You can see it's not as white as it would have been, but a beautiful job of framing. The colors are still nice and bright. It hasn't faded at all. They were made in such a way so that people without a lot of money could still have a nice picture to hang on the wall. Pretty prints in this case, and hand-colored etching. So I see one of these at just about every single program that I do. Yes,
Yeah.
And it's worth about $80.
Okay.
Okay.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Well, thank you.
You're welcome. Thanks for bringing it. Thank you, Judy. Kim's here. Kim was the first one here today. And Kim had her iPad. Now this is to show the wonders of technology. She has a picture. Let's look at the drawer. That's okay. There we go. Very pretty. Very pretty. Okay. So you got. Whoop. That's all right. We're good to go. We're good to go. Beautiful. Like a fruit wood, it looks like, or a walnut. So here's the piece, right there. Oh, there we go. So you got this. You told me in the Czech Republic.
Bought it in the Czech Republic. I was there in 1996.
Okay.
And we pulled into an antique store, and I found this. And decided I wanted to buy it. My biggest souvenir ever.
Yes.
And I paid $500 for it.
Okay.
And then I was visiting my cousin who was teaching school over there.
Right.
So we had it shipped to a shipping company in Prague.
Yep.
And then it was in 1996, shortly after the Velvet Revolution. They didn't want to let antiquities out of the country.
Sure.
And they said it was part of a collection, if that
Right,
stamp that's in there.
right. Here, we'll,
And so 9 months later, my cousin was the end of the school year in May, and he said, he was leaving. And so he went back to the antique store owner and said, you need to take this back. We want our money back. And he said,
and when, at that point, things became a lot easier.
yeah, then
Yes.
it just, all of a sudden, it was a go, and then it was
Yes,
shipped.
right.
Shipped
Yeah,
home.
yeah. When you tell them you want your money back, they usually things
Yeah.
things loosen up then. So it's a fabulous Art Nouveau wardrobe, just screaming Art Nouveau. Anytime you get this wonderful whipcord design here, and I also love this trim here on the edge. That's Art Nouveau, which means 1890 to 1910. Is that kind of what you thought it was, or?
I had no
Okay.
idea.
Okay, it's a beautiful fruit wood. I love the. Here, let me see if we can make this a little bit bigger. It's holding the design pretty well, or it's not getting too digitized. So, and you got it home, and you use it how today?
It's in the living room, and there's the TV and the stereo are inside of it.
Good. That's what they are often used for today, and they're beautiful pieces of furniture. So to find a comparable example, we look for an Art Nouveau wardrobe.
And it says it's from Budweiser,
Yes.
which is where Budweiser beer was started.
Yes, and is still being made, and has no relationship to the American one. They have agreed that these will remain seven, but the original Budweiser name is still in use over there. So these are all Art Nouveau wardrobes. $500 in 1996 was, I think, a pretty good investment.
It cost almost $1,500 to ship.
I'll bet. Well, I don't know if you're going to be able to get that back out of it again.
That's okay.
Yeah, because it's just it's a beautiful piece. I mean, there's a really screaming French one, $1,700 right there. Here's a pair to show you, where the market for a lot of this furniture has gone. There's a really nice pair with blind doors, and then one with and this is actually a little more arts and crafts than it is Art Nouveau. $1,000 for the pair.
Oh.
So I think there was a time when the value of your piece was continuing to go up and up and up and up, and then the year 2000 came along, and since then, pretty much there are very, very few categories of antiques and collectibles that have not declined in value. So today, if your piece came up for auction, and if you could get $1,000 for it, you'd be doing just fine. But I have a feeling it would be just about what you paid for it, not including the shipping. Not including the shipping. It's really a fabulous, and again, here's the Art Nouveau design with the little arts and crafts. I mean, that nice, big, heavy cast brass pull on there. Hand-cut dovetails, chamfered bottom in pine, of course. So, thanks so much for bringing it, and for sending the images.
I appreciate that.
Oh, you're welcome.
Take the whole thing.
Yeah, no.
Thank you.
You're welcome. Thanks, Kim. Cindy Sellender. Boy, do I love seeing these. How on earth did you get this wonderful cocktail shaker?
Is that what it is?
That's what it is, yeah.
Okay,
You didn't know?
I did not know.
Well, when you bring in a cocktail shaker, think of your appraiser, because, this is thirsty work up here. I'm not saying, I'm just saying. So you didn't know it was a cocktail
No, I
shaker.
did
So
not.
how did you get this?
I bought
at
it
that.
at a sale, and it just intrigued me because of the cork and the cork.
Okay.
This is also cork, too.
Right.
So,
Right. Well, this would have been part of a very, very fancy bar set. It's made by Reed and Barton, and it doesn't say sterling, so we're pretty sure that it's just silver plate. But it is a wonderful, maybe 1920, maybe a little bit later. Maybe it has a little bit of Art Deco quality to it, but the handle is much more Victorian. People always say, "Well, can I polish it?"
well, that's what I did.
Yeah. Oh, and that's fine. Yeah,
But
and
it doesn't. Didn't
the thing is, you're going to get right down to the base metal very, very quickly, and it'll tarnish very quickly as well. The silver plating on these pieces is just microns thin, so it's very easy to get down to the base metal without really even trying. So I just want to go back here very quickly.
I almost wished I wouldn't have tried to polish it, and if it tarnishes it back up, I should leave it. don't you?
Yeah, no, you absolutely can just leave it the way it is. And if you do want to polish it, it's okay. Just make sure you use a really fine cream, not an abrasive, because the abrasive will take the silver right off. So we have a. So how do you use it then? I mean, is it
Well,
just a
it's
decorative?
decorative,
Okay.
But now that I know it's a cocktail shaker, I might have to try it out.
I think you should.
I don't know if there's something inside. No, there's no markings. Well, I don't know if there's markings in there. It's hard to see. Yes, there is.
Look at them all. These are all Reed and Barton cocktail shakers. And are there any? What is this one here? I think that's it.
Yeah, it
Pretty
sure
close.
looks like-
Pretty close. I mean, if you look at that, this has a little fancier, and the handle has again, it's a little scrollier. But the fact that the corks have survived is fairly amazing. So there's a set of 3. Those sold for $65 for the whole set. There's that one. See, now that one's hammered. It's got a hand-hammered finish. So what'd you pay for it?
I think I paid like $5.
$5? Well, I think that was a good investment. Yeah, go home, mix you up a batch of martinis. It's a beautiful piece. It's not, it's not dented. Don't worry about polishing it. I think, based on what I'm seeing here, it's probably worth about $30. Very nice.
Very nice. Thank you.
Thanks for bringing
Very
it.
much.
Okay. Thank you, Cindy. Doug LaRock. Heavens to Betsy.
This is a shell that my dad was in World War II,
Yep.
and it was etched. I have 2 of these. He was stationed in Luxembourg,
Yes.
and he brought home a bunch of stuff. And he said this was some famous artist, I guess.
Really?
His name is right here.
G-U-E.
E-R-R-E.
G-U.
French.
Yeah.
And this is from World War I,
Yep.
1914 to 1918.
Yep.
And it's a German shell.
Yep. Yep.
I don't know what that means there.
It's
I was
the-
in Germany, but I didn't quite pick up the language.
I've seen. This is a very well-known type of folk art
Yes.
that they call trench art, of course. And but this is the biggest shell casing I have ever seen, and the workmanship on it is
Yeah.
really, really fine. But I don't think G-U-E-R-R. I don't think that's an artist's name. I think that may have been a city or a region where it came from. We used to think, and in the antiques trade, that these were made by the soldiers themselves during downtime when they weren't leaping out of the trenches to fight the enemy. We know now that there was a thriving cottage industry among the locals who would take these shells, take them home, create these fabulous images, and then sell them to the soldiers who would bring them home as souvenirs. So if you look for trench art, you find all kinds of different examples, but this is the biggest and the fanciest one
I have two of them.
I have ever seen. I'll show you what the other. So have you seen other examples like this?
No.
Okay. Over 1,200 different examples of trench art. Here are the shells. And again, to give you an idea, some of them are very, very beautifully decorated. Now, has it always been this shiny?
No, I just shined it up.
Oh, that's fine.
My dad would
Yeah.
do it. I
Yeah.
would do it
Nope,
with
that's-
Brasso and
That's absolutely fine. Now here's one, or a pair of them, and they often came in pairs. So you had these, again, these are hammered all over and then worked. This is an exceptionally good pair, $500. These sold for when they came up for auction 3 days ago. They were offered for sale in Australia. So they sold for, the Australian dollar is just about 1-to-1 with the US dollar. So again, there are candlestick holders, there are vases, there are ashtrays. Now there's a whole grouping of them. Most of these are not worked at all. Worked the way this one is. Here's a nice pair. But again, this is the biggest shell that I have ever seen, and I've seen a lot of these. Here's one. They make them into lamps.
yeah.
Here's one made into a lamp, with the arms sticking out the top. So I would say, yours are just absolutely gorgeous. If the other one is in the same condition as this,
Yep, exactly.
I would say $400 to $500 for the pair.
That's
Yeah.
good. Yeah.
Yeah. Now you know.
Yeah.
Okay.
Great. Thank you.
Thanks for bringing it. What a great piece of trench art. Thanks, Doug. Vivian, is it Bragg or Brage? Hello, Vivian. Would you like me to come over there? Why don't you sit there? So it's actually stretched. There's a ruler on the bottom. Oh, very nice. Okay, so it's upside down.
Dust goes with it.
There's no extra charge for the dust. So it's the Taj. No, it's the Hagia Sophia. So how did you get this?
It was my mother's now.
Okay. It's a machine woven prayer rug with the fabulous image of the Hagia Sophia, which at this time I think was still an Islamic shrine. Now it's a museum, and it's been mounted top and bottom with a ruler to help. So, do you hang it? Is it hung on the wall? It's very, very nice. It's a little faded. It's probably, I don't know if it's quite 100 years old. I don't think so. I think it's probably maybe 80 or 90 years old. Yes, perfect. So it's not an image that you see very often, and it. Okay.
What's that?
That's the crescent and the star. That's the sign of Islam. Okay. Very nice. Very nice. It's a cut pile. It's not a flat weave. It's a little bit faded, but I love the fact that you use it as a wall hanging. Okay. I would say, because the condition is really pretty good, as a wall hanging, whoops, make sure it stays on there. Oh, probably $50 or $60 today. If it had stayed on the floor all these years, it would probably just be a wreck. It would be worn out. But the fact that it was used as a hanging is one of the reasons why it's still in.
Where was it made?
Oh, I think it was made in the Middle East. I think it was brought back as a souvenir of someone who was on the Grand Tour. The Grand Tour was, would you like me to put this right here? Okay. You know, anyone would get on a steamship in the late 19th and early 20th century, and they would go to Europe, and it was called the Grand Tour. And they would visit all the great capitals, and then they'd go to the Mediterranean, they'd visit Italy and North Africa and the Middle East. And I think that this was a souvenir from someone on the Grand Tour. Yeah. Thanks for bringing it. Okay. Carrie Johnson. Okay, let's turn it around and let everyone see it. Well, it's trying to look like Emmett Kelly. So what do we know about this?
Just that, and that we found it in our attic.
Really?
Stamped back here.
Uh-huh.
With, I don't know.
1970. It looks 1970s, and it says ringside seat, and it's supposed to look kind of like Emmett Kelly, and it's signed down here. It almost looks like it's signed Emmett. It's not for everyone. Some people are scared by clowns. Yeah. You are?
I don't like it.
Okay. So your goal here is to find out how quickly you can get this out of the house.
Oh, yeah.
Okay.
My husband will keep it.
I get this a lot. Oftentimes people come to the program and they are looking for permission to go back home and take whatever it is they have, open the door to the basement, and throw it down the steps and close it and never look down there again. So it's a piece of 1970s art. It has, I think it's an original work because there's a little bit of impasto, you can see, but it almost looks like someone was following a pattern. I'm with you. It's awful. Yeah. And that's not a word that appraisers are supposed to use very often. However, if we were talking about a value for this, and if you saw it in like a consignment shop or Goodwill or someplace like that, it might be $5, or maybe $10 on a good day. But it would have to be someone who really wanted a picture of a clown. I wouldn't put it in a child's room. They would be traumatized. No, I don't think you can feel certain that if you want to get rid of it, you're not throwing away a treasure. Okay. Thank you, Carrie. Helen, is it Bauman?
Have you seen one of those?
Sure. It's a tiny little carved shoe. It looks like a little focal, and it looks like it's got a real leather. Does it have a real leather sole? Okay. Can we open it?
Sure, yeah.
Okay.
Sure. Comes right off.
So it actually is a tiny, tiny little miniature leather shoe that was used. Well, first tell me how this came into your life.
I think that was my grandpa's,
Okay.
and I thought I'd heard they use it for tobacco.
It could have been snuff,
Oh, yes.
perhaps.
Yeah.
It's hollow. It's all leather. It's all leather. It's all worked. I've seen these in boot form, in the shape of a boot.
Oh.
And I've seen these made out of cow horn, but I've never seen one all made out of leather. It's really, really very nice. So let's just see here. My goodness, there's a lot of them out there. And there's a shoe. Son of a gun, look at that.
Looks pretty
It
similar,
looks,
doesn't
it does look pretty similar.
Little higher,
You know, the top is a little fancier. The top actually looks like it's made out of horn and mother of pearl, but otherwise it's got the same little leather sole on it. How cool is that? Nailed. I love that.
Isn't that cute?
Yeah, yeah. There you go. Also nailed. That whole set. There was a tortoise shell, mother of pearl, and leather. The whole sets, all three of them, sold for $200. When? Last month, just a few weeks ago. Let's see if there's any more. Here's a whole gang of them. Three of them, 260 pounds. Here's a pair. Hand-tooled leather shoe form snuff boxes. Now you know. So I would say, at a minimum, 100, maybe a little more for this one. It's in wonderful condition. Not quite as fancy as some of these, but still. I suppose they were made by cobblers, almost as like little novelty items. So, very nice.
Very good.
All right.
Does that interest you at all?
You know, it's a beautiful little necklace. Costume jewelry is one of my categories. Fine jewelry is not. So I'm not sure what kind of a stone that is there.
I'd have to.
I wish I could be of more help. It's not one of the languages I speak.
Yeah.
Okay. Thank you.
Thank you very much.
All right, thanks, Helen. And last but not least, in hour one, Edie Moss. Hello, Edie.
Hi.
All right, so
I don't know if
you brought some Civil War money.
I did. My
Let's-
father-in-law went to law school with a gentleman,
Okay.
and he became a professor down in Mississippi. And they took my husband, when he was young, they took a road trip down there, and he passed on all this money. And I don't know if it has any value or not.
Okay, so here this is the one specifically right here. Or is there more than this?
There's, yeah, the
There's a
whole
lot
thing.
of foreign currency.
I know. I don't know where it's all.
Let's just pull up this one there. It says Confederate States of America. It's 100 and
My son just put it all in there.
sure.
So it's all
Okay.
kind of a hodgepodge.
Okay. Let me just get in here. Take a look at this. All right. So there it is. 100. There is. I have a feeling that this might be a reproduction.
Okay, that could be.
I want to see what else is out here. It's signed. Sometimes when you look at these with a magnifying glass, you can tell if these are the real deal or if they are a reproduction. 100 Confederate dollars. Well, there's one right there from 1864. Looks a lot like this one, $100. Boy, that sure looks like it, doesn't it? If it's the real deal, everything else about it looks correct, except there's something about that paper that I'm not. I mean, this one, the one that we're looking at here, sold for $70. And there it is. And there's the back, just like this one.
Well, it's just been kind of a curiosity in the family.
Well,
I don't know if it had any value.
And I think that there's a way that age sits on a piece, and I think in this case, it might be the real deal. So the other forms of currency I can't help you with. Now here's a set of them, 50. Here's another one, $80. But they all have this kind of salmon pink color. There's one a little rougher condition, $35. So if it's the real deal, and it just might be, it's worth about $70.
Okay. Well, it's
Okay.
just fun to know that it was, I didn't
Sure.
know if it was even real.
Sure. I wish I could tell you for certain, but again, it's just
That's
not one of
great.
my categories.
Thank you
Okay.
very much.
So let's begin. Let's see. It's the Meineke. Is it Meineke? Menke. Whoa! Look at that.
Look at that.
That's a big, beautiful vase. What do we know about the vase?
I don't know anything about it.
Okay. How'd you get it?
I bought it at an antique store.
Okay. It has a Kangxi mark on the bottom, which is the Oriental letter word marks. It's all hand painted, but I think when you what did they tell you about it when you bought it? Or I mean,
Nothing.
Nothing. Okay.
Give me some money.
Okay. Give me some money is what they said. Yeah.
Right.
Okay. It's a beautiful vase. There's a way that age sits on a piece, and this one looks pretty fresh. It might be 1970s, maybe even a little later than that. There's something about it that makes me think that it's 1970s. It's not terribly heavy, which I think is a good thing. A lot of times you get the later ones they're made out of stoneware and they're just big and clunky. This one is actually quite lightweight. So I think what we have is a gorgeous second half of the 20th century. This would be considered a floor vase. How do you use it?
I just have it in the cabinet.
Okay, so you don't use it, you don't put flowers in it or anything? Okay.
Not yet.
It's all hand painted. It just doesn't have a great amount of age on it.
I thought it was interesting that it was signed. Usually stuff like that isn't signed.
Yeah. I mean, it has some damage.
Right.
It's pretty small. People, a lot of people think, well, it's just a tiny little area, but it does affect the value significantly. If it was perfect, I think it would probably be about $200.
Sure.
Can I ask what you paid for it?
$12.
$12?
Yeah. That's part of the reason I bought it.
I still think that was a good investment, even with the damage. And it's just
Right.
it's a tight crack.
When it's sitting on the shelf.
Right. Yeah. You put that to the wall. No one can see it.
So you think it's Japanese or Chinese?
I think it's Chinese.
It's Chinese.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. When I see a piece like this that has, a tiny little bit of damage like that, I'm always reminded of the woman who called me up and she had a cookie jar that she wanted me to help her figure out the value of it. She was describing it to me over the phone. And I said, is it in perfect condition? And she said, it's 95% perfect. And I had never heard anyone describe something as 95% perfect. So, excuse me, this is also 95% perfect.
Right.
I think you paid $12 for it. Add a zero to that, about $120. I think that was a really good investment.
Good.
Okay.
Thank you.
You're welcome. Thank you.
I brought prints.
Very nice. So these are a series of are they like botanical, natural? Okay. Bugs, birds. So this would have been in a portfolio. They're in wonderful condition. Excuse me. So these are chromolithographs. How did you get these?
I believe from an auction.
Okay. They're in really, really good condition. So now these were published by Prang. So Prang produced these around 1890. I beg your pardon. I just want to see here. So let's see here. You got them at an auction, and how many? It looks like there's what, 20 or 30 of them, something like that. So what are you going to do with these? Are you going to frame them?
I don't know.
Okay. They are beautiful. Oh, there's deer too. Okay, so Here's a whole series of prangs. Our Living World was one of the series that they produced. They are Victorian. Sometimes they are done on silk. Sometimes they are done on paper like this. Here's a whole group of there, and there they are. In fact, we just saw, that was the top one here before I messed them all up. Yeah, there's one. There's the right down there in the corner. So, what does it say about this set? Prang and Company, Boston, 19th century bird prints. There was 6 of them, and the 6 of them sold for $40 just a year ago, June. So you've got 20 plus of them. They're beautiful. So I'm thinking at least $100 for the whole set. They are just absolutely gorgeous. Thanks for bringing them. Okay. Prang was a very well-known printer of these botanical prints. Thank you to the Minkies. Cindy Zierden. Hi.
Hi.
Well, that's a pretty thing.
It is pretty. It was my mother-in-law's.
Okay.
And other than that, I know nothing.
Okay. Is it marked?
No.
It does have something on the bottom. It was made by the Weller Company.
Okay.
So it has a mark on the bottom. It says it's R111. Interesting. So I'm pretty sure it was Weller. It wasn't. I don't think it wasn't Roseville. These came in various colors, and this was made, I think, right around 1910, 1920, so it's about 100 years old. The rose motif is not one that was real common for Weller. They did a lot more kind of organic, the palette. But this one is very nice and fresh and green. Let's see here. Thank you very much. These are all Weller rose motif vases. Well, there's an art pottery one, but it's not this exact pattern. But I'm quite sure that this is Weller. Let's see here. It's really it's in wonderful condition. Do you use it?
No, it's kind of sits in behind glass at
Okay.
my house.
Okay. Let's try one more page, because I know I've seen this. I know I've seen this motif before. I think it's probably nope. That was a wood. That's woodland. Woodland is a very collectible one. I think that's probably about an $80 base.
Okay.
Okay, but I'm sure that it's
100 years
Weller.
old.
Yes, yeah,
Okay.
absolutely. Yep.
Very good.
Okay. Ann Nelson. Let me walk around the front.
The sticker when I bought it says first run of print. I don't know if that's
Okay.
accurate or not.
Okay.
Gilbert, right?
Yep. So how did you get this?
Thrift store.
It's another thrift store find. Ann has a good eye at the thrift store. Now, one of the things that I suggest people take along when they're out looking for artworks is a magnifying glass, so that you can look at it under close up and you'll see, and I don't know if you've noticed it already, there's a dot pattern.
Yeah.
Did you see that? Okay, so we know that that's the hallmark of a photomechanical print. And a photomechanical print is a picture of a picture. This one is a fox hunting scene. It has the original mat, and I don't know if we talked about this before. The edge of the mat is turning brown. That's a sign of what's called mat burn. It means it just has a high acid content. So you got this at a thrift store, and you paid how much?
35.
$35?
It was marked for 75, but they're
Okay.
having a half off sale. So
Okay. I think 35 was a fair price. I think it was a strong price. I think you might have a difficult time getting that back out of it again. But you know what? It's a learning process.
And I love it.
Yeah, and that's all that matters. It is a photomechanical print of a fox hunting scene of a painting in watercolor by Mr. Wright. And I think that it was a fair price, but a strong price. Okay.
All right, thank you.
Thanks, Ann. Donna Beckstadt. That is a jug, isn't it? My goodness gracious. Oh, what do we know about this big old jug?
Well-
C.H. Hansen's Laboratory, Little Falls.
Well, we had a farm out on High Prairie, and when we'd gotten some derived boards, we had to isolate them from the herd.
Uh-huh.
So my husband cemented a floor in off of the greenery.
Okay.
And underneath, when he was smoothing it out, we found this. So I don't know if it's valuable or not.
You know, it's like a chemical bottle, but it has a mark on it that I've not seen before. Hansen's Laboratory, Little Falls. It's that teal green, which is probably the most common.
Okay.
A lot of these, you know, it doesn't have a pontil mark because it was made in a mold. A lot of times when you find bottles dug up like this, that means it's the site of an old outhouse.
Oh, goodness.
Because they would just chuck everything in there, including old bottles and crocks and all kinds of things.
But by a granary?
Well, you know, maybe.
Okay.
I don't know. It may have been a real, you know, for a previous owner, previous location, something like that.
Like that.
So,
Well, the previous owners before us had horses, so I thought, well, maybe it was something with some horse tonic
some horse liniment.
or something.
Brown and white stoneware. Interesting. So I want to see if this is the same company. Yep, Little Falls, New York. There you go. How about that? So they say that this is a 1 gallon, let's see, butter color. So it was an extract for coloring, might have been margarine or something like that.
Goodness.
Sold for $40. Interesting. I like this one though. I think that's, the thing is, what do you do with it? I mean, is it just
sitting
up above the cupboard?
Well, there
Yeah.
for a while I had gotten some long
Yes,
fronds
dried
and that,
weeds, yeah, sure.
But there's no room in an apartment now for that.
Okay.
So it went up on the shelf.
Okay. Well, I wish I could find another one, but at least we know that Hansen's did a lot of marked containers like this. I think it's just a beautiful, beautiful bottle. I think a bottle collector would gladly part with 100, maybe a little more for something like that. The crock jugs are even the cone top ones like this are very, very common. The bottles are not. As you can imagine, they didn't survive as well as the stoneware. So.
We aren't supposed to do this, but can I sneak in that?
World's Fair memorabilia from the Columbian Exposition, 1893. Yep, they made lots and lots of them.
Did they?
And
Okay.
about $2.
Oh, okay.
Okay.
Good.
All right.
Okay, thank you very much.
You're welcome. Thanks for coming. Pat Mannion. So do you have a favorite here, a preference for which one do you want to talk about?
Well, I can't talk two, huh?
No, we're just going to do
I saw
one.
that one woman brought two up. So
Yeah,
anyhow.
yeah, they do that once in a while. This one?
Yeah, because
Okay.
these were out of an old barn.
Okay. Well, let's see.
I was in Ireland, and that reminded me of it.
Well, of course, it's a temperance poster. There's the gentleman with the top hat and cane helping the derelict in the gutter outside the bar. It is a lithograph, so it was printed off of blocks of stone. You got this where?
In a barn
In a barn.
with this.
With the bottle too. Interesting. Oh, that's an interesting combination. So a liquor bottle and a temperance and a temperance print. So this was created about 1885. And again, here we have the original cedar board on the back. We talked about this earlier. That should be thrown away.
It's not paper, is it? It's some kind of a composite.
Oh no, it's paper.
I thought it was I took the back off and it looked like it was some kind of a composite on the paper.
I think if it's a lithograph, then it was printed on just some good heavy stock.
Okay.
But it's still the paper. So it is I think it's like a temperance poster or a temperance ad. The condition, it's toned quite a bit, and a lot of that has to do with the old cedar board on the back.
Yeah.
So it was in a barn, and did you buy it, or did someone just left it there? Or?
No, they tore the barn down. It was at least 100 some years old.
Okay. Yeah, I mean this is about 130 years old. It's worth about $25.
Okay.
Thanks, Pat. June Berglund.
This was my mother's, and she always spoke very respectfully of it, like it was worth $1 million.
A fortune. It is a hand-colored etching, and it's signed in pencil. It looks like ER, and that's about as far as I can get. Do you have any thoughts on? There's a.
She had it reframed probably 50 years ago.
Yeah. I don't think that the identity of the artist is going to make a tremendous amount of value. It's a hand-colored etching from about 1910. So it's just about 100 years old, and I'm glad that your mom had a high regard for it.
Yeah.
But I don't think it has more decorative value than monetary value. If you saw it in an antique shop today, it would be about $25, and you could get it for about 20. Okay. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thanks for bringing it. Okay. Thank you, June. Okay, Harland, and is it Harland and Roberta? Very nice. Grimm's Fairy Tales. I see so many wonderful old books in my programs. How do you come to have this one?
It was a gift from a grandmother.
Okay.
A long time ago.
Okay.
Yes. And I like it because it has the original scare stories in it. None of them have been watered down.
If you read some of the original Grimm's fairy tales, some of them are horribly violent and gruesome. Yes. And I mean, the thing to remember is that the brothers Grimm, they had no interest in the sometimes brutal content of the stories. They were philologists. They were studying language, and they wanted to hear the language, the folk tales told in their original form. So here's a website that I use called abebooks.com. Have you ever used it? Okay.
I'm not, yeah.
abebooks.com is a worldwide network of sellers of used, rare, and out-of-print books. Now, because they're retailers, I tend to think that their values are kind of high. But what they have that I find helpful is they have really detailed condition reports. So you can compare the condition of your books to the books that are being sold here. So this one has a 1924 copyright and also 25.
In Canada.
In Canada. And the condition, it's been well loved. So you can search by author, title, or keyword. It's free. You don't have to register. You just go there and search. Two copies.
Okay.
And it says the first one being offered for sale here in Wilmington, North Carolina. It says near fine condition, lacking dust jacket. So Edwin John Pretty, there he is. Mr. Pretty was the illustrator in dreamy candy box fashion. Okay, I guess that looks like a dreamy candy box. The frontispiece and 3 color plates slightly garish. Wow, they're really being hard on this book. The other 50-odd are charming in red textured cloth with full, this one, I don't know what the original color was. Gilt on the spine and front board is slightly dimmed. Well, this is very, very dimmed. And for a near fine copy, they're asking $18.
Okay.
So,
Just curious.
so I think the other one that's being offered here is doesn't have nearly as much detail, but this book has been well loved, and I think it's had most of the value loved right out of it. So
Red to dust.
there you go. Thank you. Okay. This is why that abebooks.com. It's let's see what we have here. So this is Audubon's Birds of America. There's a little something in there. This looks like 1950s, perhaps?
No, I don't
No, 37. 37, okay. So this would have originally had a dust jacket, I'm sure.
I'm sure. Here's the insert. That
Yep, oh, there it is, right, that someone cut off the dust jacket. So Birds of America, it says published by the Macmillan Company, New York, 1946. So actually getting closer to the 50s. Now this, I think, was part of a multi-volume set, although, let me just see here, come on. Oh, 283 of them. So it defaults to the lowest value, but let's see, let's just for fun, let's go to see what the highest value is. Oh, well, these are original works from the birds, from Audubon's Birds of America. Okay, so 1946 book edition, former library book. This looks like a former library book too. They're starting out at $4. There's one for $3. And here's another one for $4. This is an oversized item, so about $5.
Oh, the grandkids can look at this one then, yeah.
Yes, absolutely. Okay, thank you. Thanks for coming. Tom Heskey. Well, are you getting this, everyone? Here we go. All right. Nice to meet you,
Same here.
Tom. What did you bring me?
Okay, this is a teapot that
Yes?
I got from my grandmother after she died. The story was that it belonged to her mother. So
Oh, okay.
I'd like to know how old it is and if it's worth anything.
It's a little Japanese teapot. These were often brought back as souvenirs from the trip to the Orient, but this is not the original lid.
Oh.
This is the lid off of the missing sugar bowl that would have gone with this.
Okay.
And you can see there's just a little too much play there. So they call these lusterware sets because they have this iridescent color. They are decorated with enamel, and this pink and this kind of pale blue and orange is the most common color combination that you see. So we have enamel decoration on a Japanese teapot, and let's add luster and see what happens. 1. Let's take luster off. You know, something like this. There's a pretty little set, also decorated with enamel. There's the teapot, creamer, sugar, salt, salt and pepper, cups and saucers. So all we have left is the orphan teapot with a mismatched lid.
Okay.
You know, the other code phrase that we use on Antiques Roadshow is, well, it has sentimental value.
It does.
It does, because it's come down through the family. So, and it's got a little broken edge of the spout. Just a buck or so.
How old is it?
I think it's probably before World War II.
Okay.
So it's probably about 80 years old.
Okay.
Okay.
Good. Thank you.
Thank you. What about the Van Gilders? This is just screaming Art Deco, 1930s. Is there a name on it anywhere? Well, I mean, as a category, these pieces. This is one of the few categories where restoration is actually an acceptable part. I mean, this goes in with like pedal cars and things like that. So this one is in really, really wonderful. Restoration it doesn't hurt their value, which is kind of strange. So now here's a couple of them. Let's see. Huh? Rocket. Is that it? Son of a gun, that's it. A 1930s rocket scooter skate. So this originally had a little decal on there that said the scooter skate, but son of a gun, that's it. See, this is why I get the big money. Okay, so that's once upon a time, it looked like that right there. So what does it say? What does it say about it? Sold as a scooter with the option of removing the handle and using it as a skateboard. So this I mean, that was broken bones waiting to happen for that. Oh my gosh, that's barely big. That some kids have bigger feet than that. They were estimating when this came out for auction this summer, June 29th, they were estimating it at $100 to $150. It did not sell. So do you know what your brother paid for it? Let's see if there's any more of these out there.
So you're saying if it would be
If you could,
stored, it would still maintain it?
it would still maintain its value. Yep. I think that the estimate of value was a little bit high. Let's just, now that we know it's called the scooter skate, let's see if there's any more of them out there. There's one there, $20. It might be this one right here. Look at this. It's in the same condition. Actually, yours is in better shape than this one. Look at that, $20. So I'm going to say about $40. Okay. And then A little match holder, a little matchbook holder. What do we know about this for sure?
It's an Indian motorcycle.
Souvenir from the Louisiana Purchase exhibition of 1904 in St. Louis. Indian motorcycle. Oh my goodness. Well, you know, if Frank and Mike from American Pickers were here, they would, I think Mike would go nuts for that. And I know Frank and Mike, they're good guys. Well, I think that this is a matchbox holder, isn't it? Well, all things associated with Indian motorcycles are highly collectible. Let me just see. No, nothing's coming up. Nothing's coming up. I mean, well, there's a bottle opener. There's a nice old church key that sold for $16. Good advertising signs, you know. Those are reproductions, I'm sure. Tip trays. You know, I'm going to say 50, about $50. No? You won't.
He's been told 200.
I don't think so. Not anymore. Maybe, perhaps once upon a time. Find another one though. You know, I don't know if you can. If you could get, I think if you get $200 for it, you'd be doing just fine. The bottle openers used to bring. In fact, here's one that sold for $35 in September. I mean, there's an Indian motorcycle paperweight sold in August for $10. I think once upon a time there was more value to it. Here's an Indian motorcycle candy container. That would be very rare. $400. When did that sell? In June. So, well, I wouldn't argue with 200. Thank you. All right. Thanks to the Van Gilders. Dawn Lindstrom.
Anything about it?
So there it says Picasso 1904, mother and child.
Mm-hmm.
Very, very nice. How did you get this?
Storage locker.
A storage locker find.
Mm-hmm.
So did you have to buy the whole storage locker?
Mm-hmm.
See, suddenly we are on American Pickers.
That's what we do.
Yeah,
We
well,
buy
that's
lockers,
okay.
so.
That's
And
okay.
sometimes we find things and we don't know much about art. So
Uh-huh.
we thought we'd bring in some artwork that we found.
Next time you get into a storage locker, make sure you have a magnifying glass.
Okay, I have them. It's not a big one like that.
Okay. Well, I mean, and this is a good one, but and if you take this and look at the picture, you will see that there is a fine dot pattern,
Yep, I see it.
and that's the hallmark of a photomechanical print.
Okay.
So it's a picture of a drawing by Picasso.
Okay.
And it says, to Brooke from Grandma, okay, whoever that was. So it's because it's a photomechanical print, just decorative value only. Maybe $5.
Really?
Yeah.
Because I've been offered over 200 for it.
You
I
have?
should have taken it, huh?
Yes. Go back to that person who offered you $200. Smile. When you get, I was going to say, when you get the money in your hand, run as fast as you can. But unfortunately, you can't run.
Okay.
So have someone get in a cart and have someone in the cart push you
Okay.
as fast as get away as you possibly can.
Okay.
Yeah. Okay.
Okay.
Thanks, Dawn. Linda Holte.
Anyway, I think it's kind of cool because it's got, it's from 1913.
Uh-huh.
And it has these little thingies.
And he has little tipped-in images, and this says News of Spring by Maurice Maeterlinck. So how did you get this book?
storage locker.
Another storage locker find. Okay, so there are tipped-in images, and that one is actually kind of, it's adhering to that. Let's see. There we go. There we go. So this is interesting. They have these tipped-in images, and there's a moth and beautiful flowers. So that's very interesting. Okay. So were you here when we were talking about abebooks.com? Okay. ABE is the website that we're looking for here. So here it is, abebooks.com. It's a worldwide network of sellers of used, rare, and out-of-print books. So we have, what's the copyright date on the
1913.
1913. That makes perfect sense. News of Spring, and that's an unusual spelling. Maeterlinck, 1913, right? Okay. Wow, there's 12 of them. Now what you run into here on this website is like this. This is a print-on-demand book. So they can't find the original one, so they say, give me a reprint of it. So there's a lot of reprints here. However, here, you hold that up so our audience at home can see it. And there it is. News of Spring. Someone in Canada thinks that that's worth $165. Gilt decorated front cover and spine. Yes. Top edge gilt. 20 tipped in color plates with tissue covers. Yes. Light soil and bumping to the front cover. This one has been bumped pretty heavily. Gilt is bright, binding is tight, and the pages are clean. No book plates, marks, or writing of any kind. Det mold tipped in plates are clean and bright. A nice copy. Someone's asking 165. It's, whether it's an old book or a plate or whatever, there's the talking price and there's the walking price. And until it walks out the door, you can talk all you want to about what it should be worth. So, again, I think maybe $20. Okay.
Come on.
Okay. All right, 25.
Oh, thank you.
Okay.
Thanks.
All right. Thank you. Thanks, Linda. Cynthia Ramstad. So, storage locker?
Storage lockers.
Okay. How did I know?
That's what we do. We're retired.
No, that's okay. So in this case, we have a highlighted, probably from the 1960s. It was made because you can see here when this was painted, it was painted flat, and they painted up to this edge, and then they stapled it to the stretcher. Now, one thing to note about the stretcher is that it's missing all its keys. The keys are little tapered pieces of wood that go in the corners. Every painting like this should have 8 of them, 2 in each corner. And they go in at opposing angles, and they keep the stretcher pushing out, and they keep the canvas nice and taut. Now, in this case, it doesn't matter too much because the canvas is still nice and taut. So this is the type of painting where, these were often sold in furniture stores. So when you went in to get your living room suite, you also had a picture that you could buy, a sofa-size picture that you could buy in the furniture store. In the 1960s, these fabric-covered spacers were all the rage, and that's how we date it. Also, the fact it's stapled to the canvas, or stapled to the stretcher. It's not nailed. So we have a 1960s landscape. The artist's signature doesn't really matter that much. I mean, this was a painting that was produced quickly for more for decorative value than anything else. Worth today about $10. Okay, Ryan Quiggle, you got a watch.
Yep.
With a nice watch fob chain from a mason. Who was the mason in the family?
Well, a friend of my wife's grandma, she got it from a friend of hers.
Okay. Okay. The watch is beautiful. It says Elgin Watch Company. Does it run?
I think it needs to be cleaned.
Okay.
But, yeah, it won't.
Okay. It's a lovely watch. It's hard to tell what the case is like. It doesn't. It might be a low carat gold, but I'll tell you what, the chain is much more interesting than the watch. And so I'm just going to detach this and set this right here. Do you know what this is made of?
No.
Right here. That's hair.
Oh.
It's human hair.
Interesting.
So this is one of the fanciest human hair watch fob chains I've ever seen. And it also has a Masonic emblem at the end of it. So in the 19th century, they discovered that they could take human hair like this and weave it into all kinds of amazing patterns. And I'll show you. And it's, they last forever. They would get these out of when the lady of the house would brush her hair every night, and then she would clean out the brush, and all the hair would go into a hair receiver, which was a little dish with a lid and a hole in the lid, and they would fill it up with hair. And then when it filled up with hair, they would take it out and weave it into all kinds of crazy things, including wreaths and rings and watch fob chains. And this is a really beautiful example in wonderful condition. Look at, there are all kinds of them. Here's one here. These are all made out of human hair. So while the watch is kind of nice, the chain itself and the little gold Masonic emblem at the end are actually worth more than the watch. Here's a really, really fancy one, all woven human hair. There's a little gold horse, tightly woven with a diamond design on the ends. The middle portion has a twisted look, all excellent condition. The coarseness of the hair raises the possibility that this is not human hair. I think it's probably human hair. But sometimes they used horsehair, but this is human hair. I just want to see if I can find a comparable example done in this style. See, look at these, $110, and there's one with a Masonic emblem. To kick it in, there we go. Look at that. And this one's in rough shape. It's kind of worn here, but you've got the Masonic emblem. And that sold for $110. So a non-working watch in gold plate is worth about $70, but you've got a $100 watch chain right there. So.
I know I looked up the numbers on the watch, and it was this style was actually manufactured in 1882.
That makes absolutely perfect sense. Let me just see here.
The back
Have you ever
turns off. The back half just turns off.
Oh, okay. So it turns.
Yeah.
Oh, okay. Oh,
shows
okay.
the
It doesn't, because I've ripped off more thumbnails trying to get the back off here. So we're looking for a carat mark. And this is Fahey's. This is a Fahey's case. 1879, there was the patent on here. And very, very nice. But it's not gold. It's gold plated or gold filled. So
Okay.
the chain is still the more valuable
Oh, yeah.
of the two.
It's crazy.
There you go.
All right, thank you.
All right, you're welcome. Thank you. Nicole is next. Tough act to follow, Nicole. Okay, what did you bring me?
I gotta outdo my husband now.
Okay. Well, you might be able to do that. So let's just see here. We have a cameo. It's a. How did you get this?
Actually, when I was a little girl, my mom used to take me to flea markets and garage sales, and an old lady had it, and she goes, "Take good care of it. It was mine," and she had it for a long time.
Okay.
I've had it for like 20 years.
Okay. So it's, the cameo, the shell cameos are carved from what they call a helmet shell. And so that goes down through the various levels until you get to that kind of salmon pink on the bottom. Unfortunately, this is not a shell cameo. It's a molded piece of plastic. In a pot metal or a spelter frame. I'm afraid your husband wins this particular contest. So just a couple bucks.
Thanks.
Okay. All right, that was fun. That's the best woven hair watch fob chain I've ever seen. Okay, Marion Millard. Hoo-wee. Yeah.
That was hanging on my mom's wall on the farm.
That is a beautiful plate. So this was hanging on the wall at the farm.
And we had 7 brothers, and they all were in sports. So they like to throw the ball around, but it never got hit.
Okay, well that's fairly amazing.
Yeah.
Well, it's very clearly marked on the back Limoges. And then it also has the name Ogden, Merrill and Greer, St. Paul.
Right.
And those would have been the retailers that could have ordered these from, the manufacturer in France and had their name put right on the back. And then there's one other tiny little mark. It just says Limoges, France, Decor, D-E-C-O-R. So hand-painted, not a transfer design. All the decoration you see on here is, they would call this a charger, a Limoges charger with roses.
I looked it up a little bit on.
Okay.
And I found the markings, but I saw this one, but it didn't have any history on the site that I saw.
Okay.
So I kept looking, but I couldn't find that one.
It's in wonderful condition. The gilding on it is just exactly the way it should be. Look at them all. My goodness gracious. There's a lot of them out there. This one is probably the closest because you've got this scalloped edge.
I looked at the sizes too, like that one I measured is about 15.5 to 16 inches.
Okay.
And
What size is this one?
Some of those are more
13
like,
3/4, so a
Okay.
little bit smaller. And that just sold in June for $200.
Okay.
So let me just go back here and see if we can find one that's a little bit, there, I'll give you that back.
One of my sisters claimed it
Oh,
years ago. and-
That's okay. That's okay. I mean, as long as she wasn't using a Brillo pad,
No,
that's-
she didn't clean it. She claimed it.
Oh, claimed. Oh, I beg your
Yeah.
pardon. Claimed. Okay. Well, I mean, there's one. This one is $195. I mean, this would have been made right around 1900. 17 inches.
Okay.
$175.
Okay.
So I would say, and a very comparable design. Yours is a little bit fancier, but there's those beautiful roses painted on. I would say $200 is about right.
Okay.
Okay.
Yep, sounds good.
You're welcome. Thank you. Okay. Robin McDonald.
See what your magic glass comes up with.
Okay.
It's a letter from King George V.
It is. It is, and it's dated 1918, so this was after World War I. And it says, Windsor Castle, soldiers of the United States, the people of the British Isles welcome you on your way to take your stand beside the armies of many nations now fighting in the old world. the great battles for human freedom. So how did you get this?
My dad got that when he went to England to fight in the First World War.
Wow, okay. Well, is your dad still with us?
No.
No? Okay. Well, we appreciate.
He was wounded and he got the Purple Heart 94
Uh-huh.
years later.
Really? Oh, okay. Well, every soldier who served in World War II got this letter.
World War II?
Or World War I, I mean. I beg your pardon. So it's not an actual handwritten letter. It's a facsimile.
Okay.
Here it is right here. There's the exact same
Same
letter,
thing.
same signature, a message to you from His Majesty George V.
George. Yeah.
Yep,
He didn't.
yep.
What is the R.I.?
Rex.
Rex.
For he's the king.
Okay.
Yes. So this one was offered for sale with its a little envelope. $150 to $200. That's way too much. When these do sell, they are usually bringing about $20. Let me see if we can find one that's sold.
Well, we just put it by its Purple Heart.
Well, that's nice. That's a wonderful remembrance of him. Yeah, if it was a real handwritten letter, it would be thousands of dollars. As a facsimile, about $20.
Yeah.
Okay.
Good. Thank you.
You're welcome. Thanks for coming. Okay. We're getting down to the end. Lynn Clark.
You tell me.
Well, that is my job.
And it's from my grandma, and there's a note.
Okay.
This wood statue was carved by someone of the Kafir tribe of Nuristan, Afghanistan.
Okay. Interesting. Well, it's a double-sided figure, and it may be difficult to see. There's crossed. The figure is crossing its arms on his chest. So you've got a face on either side. Interesting. DSC bought
That's my
there
grandma.
about 1964. Well, it's a nice piece of folk art. I don't think, really affects the value much at all. Let me just take this off here so I can see it a little better.
My girlfriend and I thought it should be on Survivor for the Immunity Idol.
Yeah, Immunity Idol.
That's as good a use for it as I can think of. I think it's trying to look ancient, but I think it was probably carved in the 20th century. I don't know. Maybe let's see if there's another one out there. There's a lot of stone carvings from Afghanistan. There are some wood carvings, but nothing quite like this. There's a stone idol. There's another stone idol, but nothing in wood. Well, that's interesting. It has a wonderful quality to it. I mean, I like the surface. I like the fact that it's primitive. I like the fact that it has two sides to it, and it has a nice primitive quality that, as a lover of folk art, I really like. I think if you saw this in a consignment shop today, it would be about $150. It's a nice piece.
Is it museum worthy?
It depends on where the museum is. If there was a museum in Cannon Falls, it would sure be, but I mean like the Metropolitan Museum of Art, no. Minneapolis Institute of Art, no.
Okay.
No.
So hang on to it.
Hang on to it, enjoy it, and take good care of it.
I have, thanks.
Good, thank you. Okay, that was fun. Thanks, Lynn. Jim Pagel. Oh, very nice. Let's turn it around. Let's turn it around. That is a lot of clock. And there's the figure for the top?
Yeah.
Okay.
It was always displayed in the family home with this on the top.
Okay. Yep, good. Very nice. Very, very nice. Well, it's early on in the program today, when we were looking at Kim's wardrobe, I said that was screaming Art Nouveau. So is this. This would go very well with your wardrobe, don't you think? Which means that this was made between 1890 and 1910. I think on the earlier side of that. It is just a fabulous Art Nouveau clock made by Ansonia. Ansonia was the most famous of all of the American clockmakers. They were in New York, and they made clocks for the middle class. But this is a really, really spectacular example. The figure may go with it. It may not. I'm not sure, really.
Different materials.
Yeah, they are. I mean, this is spelter. Is this really heavy?
Yeah.
Yeah, I think it might be. It might be bronze. It might be bronze. So you've got the open escapement there. There, you can see the gear turning. You've got the little acorn finials. It's time and strike, a really nice porcelain dial in wonderful condition. So one winding hole for the clock mechanism and one winding hole for the chiming mechanism.
Really nice. The chime is very nifty. Real muted sound.
It is, and that's nice because oftentimes people get these. It's an 8-day movement, so you wind it once a week, and the idea of having a chiming clock and the reality of having a chiming clock are two very different things. A lot of times, the ones that make a racket, they wind them, they run them for a week and they never wind them again. So because they make too much noise. So what we are looking for here is an Ansonia Art Nouveau clock. Now, I have a feeling, as we were saying, that I don't know that necessarily they all go together. Now you can see, again, that whipcord design, that kind of very organic, undulating design. These are all Ansonia clocks. Sometimes they have figures, sometimes they don't. Is that it? That's it. I'll be dipped. Well, dress me up and call me Sally. There it is. Now, the surface is a little bit different, but let's just go through here and you'll see. Come on. It shouldn't take this long. Never mind. We're not going to wait for all those images to load. Takes too long. Okay, so there's the clock. What does it say about it? An Art Nouveau case with Ansonia. It's a Miranda figure, it says on the top. This is number 1008, signed in double-sunk porcelain enamel dial with central exposed escapement. Yes. Signed movement, good running condition. And this was my buddy Dirk Sulis sold this out in Lone Jack, Missouri 2 years ago for $425. So I mean, the surface of this is a little bit rougher. Let me go back here and see if there's any more of these. So anyway, I think it's a gorgeous clock. We now know that that's the right figure. So I would say between $350, maybe a little more. Okay. Thanks for bringing it. Al Johnson. my, oh my. What a nice painting.
I like it.
I like it too. What do we know about it for sure?
Well, I know very little about it. I got it from a collector in St. Paul about 50 years ago.
50, okay,
years
yep,
ago.
all right.
And I've enjoyed it ever since. The Douglas Dewar was a Wilmington, Delaware artist, and for the bicentennial, I was contacted by the museum asking if they could borrow the picture.
Really?
And was displayed in the exhibit they made of his work for the bicentennial.
It has just a fabulous illustrator quality. Was he an illustrator? Did he do books or magazine illustrations?
As a matter of fact, he did almost all of the illustrations for Zane Grey's books.
You can tell that as soon as you look at it, that this was used to tell a story, that it was used to illustrate a chapter in a book or a magazine. I'm going to ask you to hold it right there. And it's dated 1911, I believe. It looks like it hasn't been lined. Has it ever been cleaned that you know? Okay.
No, I've had it for 50 years and I've done nothing with it.
I love it. I think it's just a fabulous piece.
I've done a little painting myself, and the thing that drew my attention to this was the hand. Hands are very difficult to paint.
Yes.
And that's a marvelous job of.
Well, yeah, no. If you see a painting, for instance, if you look at up artwork by Da Vinci. Da Vinci was a master painter, but he couldn't paint feet to save his life. All the feet and the people of his paintings are usually deformed. So Douglas Dewar was born in 1887. He died in 1964. And he has some he has some auction records out there. And as you can see on the screen here, I mean, I'll show you this here.
Oh,
okay. These are all paintings that he did. What is that? Now, see, that has an illustrator quality to it, absolutely. 2,400, that sold in 2010. Oh yeah, that looks like the calendar art. 2,300. There's a wonderful Indian image. That was so just very little amount of his work here. So I have a feeling that this is probably among his masterworks. And based on the values that I'm seeing here, I would say 5,000, probably, maybe a little more. Well, you won't know until the public gets a chance to see it and gets a chance to decide. It's just a wonderful, wonderful painting.
I thought so.
Yeah, I'm so glad you brought it in. Thank you. Okay. Oh, thank you, Al. That was fun. Lila Engstrom.
Well, I brought in this Flow Blue meat platter.
Boy, is it ever a Flow Blue platter.
Yes.
Yes.
And I am going to sneak just this little butter pat in.
Okay, it's the same category.
Yes, it is.
Yep.
And my grandmother was like a midwife, and she delivered some babies way back in Wisconsin years ago. The wife had no money, and she said, "I know you like dishes. Would you like this set of dishes?" And it was a complete set of 12 with all kinds of pitchers, bone dishes, gravy boats, the whole thing. And one time I was on the internet, and they said this little butter pat was like $55, and it was circa 1850 for this pattern.
Yeah, I would say mid 19th century. This is the Argyle. It's gilded, which is nice. And I think $55 for a butter pat might have been a little strong.
Well, this is that replacement.
Yeah,
limited.
right. Replacements limited. They are very, very proud of their merchandise, and you know, and I think their pricing is a little bit ambitious.
I would say.
So we have an Argyle Flow Blue platter. Well, there's a few of them out there. And this one is gilded. Oh, son of a gun, there it is right there. There it is. Yep. Along with 3 other pieces. So Staffordshire Flow Blue transferware. Again, these designs were laid on like a decal.
Okay.
And then glazed over. The whole grouping sold, my buddy Jeff Evans out in Mount Crawford, Virginia, sold this whole lot for $30.
Really?
Yes.
Well,
Yeah.
no, I paid $50 for a cup and saucer in an antique shop.
Yeah. No, no.
Because it's a hard pattern to find.
No, absolutely. Now here, this whole grouping, and again, there's the platter right there, $50. Tom Harris down in Marshalltown sold that. There's one there, but and that's sold for $100, but that is almost 10 years ago now.
Oh, okay.
And so the further back in time you go, the higher the prices are.
I see. Okay.
The more recent ones, here's the Flow Blue right there, 15-inch. $120 9 years ago.
Okay.
Let's go back a little further in time. There's one with a gravy boat with attached underplate, $375 11 years ago. So it's a beautiful piece, beautiful, hanging on the wall.
Yes, it is.
Keep enjoying it.
I will.
Okay.
Yeah, it's more sentimental value than anything.
I think that's
Thank
true.
you.
Oh, you're welcome. Thanks for bringing it. Doug Fields. Hello.
I have a picture of the Catholic Cathedral in St. Paul.
Sure. Let's let everybody see it. Okay. So how did you get this?
My wife got it.
Okay.
Rest her soul.
It's a lovely image. It looks like it was probably framed in the 1970s. Yeah, it is, and again, you can see what we call matte burn. That the edge of the mat has turned brown, and that means it has a high acid content.
Okay.
So it's toning or discoloring the paper underneath. In this case, the original was a watercolor. This is a photomechanical print of the watercolor.
Oh, okay.
So again, it's a picture of a picture, 1970s. I mean, it's 40 years old. But today, if someone really wants a picture of the St. Paul Cathedral, they'd have to part with about $25 to get this.
Okay.
Okay.
Thank you.
You're welcome. Thank you. Pat Mannion. Oh, this was
That was the other one.
Pat was talking earlier about the barn that he was in, where he got the picture of the drunkard,
the drunk
on the street.
Irish drunk.
But then there's this.
That looks like it's silver.
It is silver. It says that the 19th hole. Okay, and this is a silver overlay, and this was also in the barn.
Right.
Okay. So silver overlay is a process whereby a thin sheet of pierced silver is laid. So I mean, this would have been, I don't know, whiskey or
it's a whiskey
bourbon or something like that. It's got some age on it. What could they have been doing in that barn to have all this alcohol stuff in there?
They hide it.
And maybe they were hiding it during the Prohibition.
The guys go in there and they hide it from their wives.
Oh, okay. No, nothing. Nothing.
Bar bottles, I've never seen them like that.
Yeah, I mean, as bar bottles go, I mean, this one is cut. You got this wonderful cut design and silver overlay. That's just begging to be refilled. I would say I like it. It's that sterling silver on there. That's about a $50 bottle.
Okay,
Very nice.
thank you.
Thanks, Pat.
So this is an original George Gosh painting. And
It has just a wonderful quality to it. How did you get this?
I bought it at an auction in Pine City
Okay.
for $1. I could tell it was an original. I did a little bit of research in 2011.
Uh-huh.
And he's deceased, but I got this wonderful handwritten letter from his daughter.
Oh my.
And he's more famous for his bronzes, but he did a lot of original art to pay for his stuff. And his father, I guess, did monuments over in Europe, big monuments. He did
Interesting.
smaller ones.
Interesting. He had a great palette, a really nice, bright, colorful palette, and his impressionist style, using these big, thick brush strokes, is very, very distinctive. Help me with the spelling of his last name.
It's G-A-C-H, Gosh.
Okay. I'll let you hold this right there.
I had a hard time tracking him down because he never made reproductions of his paintings.
Uh-huh. Let's see.
And actually, I found one gallery who got me in touch with his grandson, and then his grandson gave me the mother's phone number, and I called her up. And he was unique because on the back of every painting, he numbered them, and when I told her the number, she knew exactly what it was.
Huh. So how did this one? It's George, right?
Yeah, George.
Okay. So how did this make its way to Pine City?
I have no idea. And it was sitting next to the house at the end of an auction, and they had a mop and a chair. And I went to pay, and I thought, well, I'll give it to my sister. But I could tell it was an original. So I said, they said $1 for the mop and the chair and the painting. I said, I'll take it. And then everybody yelled at me when I got back in the car because I brought more stuff.
Well, he's got some pretty interesting records out there. He did snow scenes. Here, I'll show you.
Oh, okay.
This is going to be offered. This painting, which is estimated at between $700 and $800, is going to be offered for sale next week
Okay.
at auction in Sloan's and Kenyon. That's in Chevy Chase, Maryland. There's one of his bronzes, Indian. There's another skating scene, $750. There's looks
She
like
said this was from Bermuda, this series. that he
okay,
did.
okay. Here's one, $100. There's a bronze. There's a nude. There's a cowboy. This looks like Bermuda. Maritime harbor scene, $500. That was 3 years ago. And you got this for $1.
Yeah, she asked me how much did you pay for it, and I said I really don't want to tell you. And she said, did you buy it at Christie's auction? I said, no, I live in Minnesota. I said it was a farm auction. And so finally I broke down and told her I spent $1 for it.
Uh-huh. And what was her reaction?
Well, she was happy to know where it was.
Oh, good.
Because I guess he's got a little museum in New York, and they try to figure out where all of his different pieces went.
Sure.
And she was happy to know where it was at.
So now it's in the catalog raisonné. Here's one that's sold at Christie's
Yeah.
for $3,300.
Okay.
You know, so I mean, very affordable. You know, not terribly expensive. I think on a good day, this is probably a $700 or $800 painting.
Okay. I did pay $300 for the frame.
Yes, well, framing is expensive.
I know.
No, it's a wonderful
but I thought
painting.
since I got such a bargain on
Yeah,
it.
you can justify
Yeah, I
it,
can justify
absolutely.
it, yeah.
Thanks for bringing it.
Thank you.
Here you go. Yeah. Okay. That was a great story.
Now, what kind of frame would you put on that then?
Oh, just that one. You know, I mean, I think that was a really good investment. Yeah.
I got this when I was in Savannah, Georgia.
an antique shop, and they weren't positive about what the maker was, but they said it could be Owens or it could be Rockwood, and one would be much more valuable than the other.
Or Rookwood.
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 Oh, okay.
Owens is possible. Roseville is also possible.
Okay.
This bright yellow bottom makes me think that it could be, I don't think it's Owens. This is they call this the standard glaze. This is early, this is over 100 years old.
I just knew I liked that thistle pattern, and the glaze looks so nice.
Yep, yep. Very nice. Very nice. And the cylinder form is so simple, and I really like it a lot. So wait, you got it in Savannah, Georgia.
About
How long?
5 years ago.
5 years ago. Okay. I wonder if it's Weller.
I was visiting my niece down in Jacksonville, Florida, so we took a side trip up to Savannah for the weekend.
Okay. The standard glazes, and you can see them here, they all had this glossy brown color. You see, I think this looks like a piece. It's not Rookwood, because Rookwood would have had it would have been very clearly marked.
Okay.
So this is the standard glaze. I think Weller makes the most sense. Although it could have been Roseville. Roseville on the Roseville pottery pieces, they called this Rosaine. Hold on here.
So you're thinking not Owens?
I don't think it is Owens, but we can look up Owens.
Okay.
See, and again, they use the very dark color, and see, it sure could be Roseville. Let me just see if they have a picture of the bottom.
Yeah, the thistle pattern I thought might come up too.
Yeah, yeah. Now see, the bottom here is yellow,
Yeah.
just like this one is. Boy, that sure looks like the same thistle, doesn't it?
Oh, let me see. Yeah, that one has a
That
bubble
looks-
head at the top.
Yeah, but it looks
Oh,
looks
yeah.
remarkably similar.
Yeah.
So
good.
10 years ago,
Nice.
10 years ago, this sold for $550.
Good.
Yeah.
I think I paid about 200 or 250. 'Cause
Now,
I remember thinking.
I think,
hope
yeah.
It's worth 250.
I think that looks remarkably similar. So I think it is a Roseville Rosaine cylinder vase. I think $200 was a fair price.
Roseville or Rookwood. It says Rookwood right there.
Yeah, auctions at Rookwood, but that's
Oh,
just
I
because
see.
it was Cincinnati. This is made by the Roseville Pottery
Okay,
in about 1905.
good.
Okay,
I'm happy.
okay. I am too.
Thank you.
Okay.
I'm glad you like it.
Thank you. You're almost embarrassed because you have a toilet paper dispenser.
Made in 1915, and I could not find it. It's a really old one.
Well, I'll tell you what. I've seen everything now. Yes.
Well,
Amco economy. So I mean, let's just first off, how did you get this?
I found it in
You-
a storage shed.
You found it in a storage shed. Okay. Economy Fixtures Associated Manufacturers Company, Milwaukee, Wisconsin. What are the odds that there's going to be another one like this in here?
It's probably never. No, I don't know.
The thing is, what do you plan to do with it?
I don't even know.
Oh, well, we know that it has a specific use.
Yes.
Okay.
So maybe in an outhouse or something.
In an outhouse.
But I don't know.
Okay.
We got a cabin and put it in the outhouse.
I mean, this will still get the
I
job
didn't
done.
clean it or nothing.
No, I wouldn't. I
You
wouldn't.
know what I mean.
I know. Yep.
I don't even know how. Yeah. How do you pull off?
Well, it looks like there's a spring-loaded device here.
Do you figure? I don't know. Maybe you got to pull on this thing.
Yeah.
Oh, it did move.
Yeah. Well, but you have plenty of time to figure that out. What is it? What's it worth?
I have no idea.
It's probably worth about $10.
That's it?
That's it.
For something that old?
Yeah. If only the age were the only factor in looking into its value. Yeah, I would say
$10.
$10.
Wow.
Yeah.
Okay. Well, I think we got a little more for it.
You do?
Yeah.
Did you? Okay.
Well, I mean, we're trying to sell it.
Oh, okay.
Somebody offered us more.
They did?
Yeah.
Good. I would take the money
I think
and
maybe
run.
I will.
Yes.
Yeah. Okay.
Okay.
Thank you.
All right. And that was the big finish. Thank you all so much for coming. I hope you had fun. I know I did. Yes, thank you. And again, thanks to Heidi and for bringing the program back. Maybe we'll do this again sometime. Okay. All right. Oh yeah, one more. Yeah, we're gonna look at one more. Because she came. This is a wonderful little painting in need of restoration. It's squirrels in a tree. It would clean up beautifully. We can't make out the signature. It's a nice little folk painting of squirrels that is in need of restoration. It would cost about $125 to have it cleaned, and it's worth about $125. So, just the way it is.
Okay.
But I'll be happy to put you in touch with someone who can clean it for you.
Okay.
Okay. Thanks again. Okay. Bye.